Hi everyone and welcome to the French Watch Collector. Today on the bench we have a very nice Rolex Datejust, you can see, steel and gold. And this watch is in for a full service. So we're gonna see which kind of, if we find some issues with this watch. And we're gonna do a full service on this beautiful piece. So we're gonna do first, we're gonna check, and you see the watch struggling to start. I was winding the watch, but yes, the second hand was not starting. So I had to tap it a bit just to make it start. Just checking now if the date is jumping. We see the second is stopping. Oh yeah, we see the date jumping just at midnight, so that's perfect. We're gonna check the quick save date. Yeah, looks like it's working as well. So nothing wrong so far. Just gonna close and rewind the watch fully because we're gonna put it on a time grapher, and when I put it on a time grapher, I like to have a full wind on the watch. Just so the client didn't want to do anything on the case, he just wanted to leave the case as it is, but just do a service, and that's what I'm gonna show you in this video, how we service these beautiful Rolex watches. You can see the serial number on one side, where you have normally the bracelet, and you see there's a reference, which is a 15203, which is a model of this watch. And when I put it on a time grapher, you see the result is not bad actually for a watch that was not serviced for a long time. Gaining 10 seconds, amplitude around 270, the bit error 0.5, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna try to improve this result and get a better result at the end, so we see which kind we can get. But yeah, it's not too bad actually on a time grapher for this watch. So first I'm gonna use this custom press from Orotech there. I'll put a link down below if you want to buy this press. They are very nice, very useful, especially for Rolex, with the special adapter there to open the case back. Okay, now the case back is open. I'm just gonna just do a couple of turns and see always the beauty inside. And this is the caliber 3135. You see there the 15200, that's a family, so this one a 15203 being with steel and gold. You see the 3135, which is a reference of the caliber inside. Automatic caliber, as you can see with the rotor. The oscillating weight there on top. Just removing there with a piece of Rodico. Just want to pull it straight up because I don't want to damage the jewel. You see there is a big jewel in the center there, which is this pink color stone there. And to make sure I don't break it, I just pull it straight up. I really like this movement from Rolex. I don't know, like you have to work on a Rolex to understand the strength and the solidity, if you want, of that's what Rolex is famous for. And when you work on the movement, you can see compared to other brands, it's different. The movement, to be fair, are great quality. After, you can argue that the price is too high for this type of this watch. That's in another, but the quality is really good on these watches. So now I'm just going to take out the caliber, the movement, the dial, and the hands out of the case. See, it's just a bit crooked there, and I'm just pull up the case. Just gonna place back the winding stem inside the movement. So like that, I can just align the hands. That's what I'm gonna do now. Just gonna align the hand. I'm just gonna wait for the second hand. And I'm gonna use the hack function on this watch to stop the second. And everything's aligned. So now it'll be easy to remove the hand with my Presso tool. Just protect the dial with a plastic cover on top just to make sure I don't scratch. And again, the dial from a Rolex, like you will have to see outside of the case, they are so nice, like the gloss effect or the matte effect, depending on the model. They are very nice dials. They're like very beautiful, very pure. I'm just releasing the dial feed screws there. That's the screws that are keeping the feet from the dial blocked, if you want, in the caliber, just to make sure the dial doesn't move. And now I'm gonna very gently lift up the dial, and you see I'm using my carbon tweezer tip there, just to make sure I don't do any scratches on the dial or a date disc underneath. Just need to be extra careful there, and that's it. You see the dial is coming. Yes. Just gonna put it in this dial box with the hands, and that's it. It's stored safely away. We can focus now on the movement. We are still on the dial side, and you see this beautiful decoration. Just gonna release this screw there to remove the date disc. I'm gonna remove these blue screws. Very nice color on this screw, just to make sure. There we go. Like now we know they go all together to remove this big plate, which is like the calendar and dial plate. And underneath we have the full mechanism, the calendar mechanism, and the keyless work. And you see we have a jewels underneath there, which is very tricky to grab. Starting disassembling the calendar mechanism here. Ooh, it just jumped there, didn't go very far. There we go, and that's all the parts just to drive the calendar wheel. And we're gonna remove now the cannon pinion, which is friction mounted with this Presto tool. Gonna release the power from the movement. So I'm just holding the click, and with the other hand I'm holding the crown there and just releasing the power very slowly, just to make sure we don't damage the mainspring. And normally after a while the movement should come to a full stop when there is no power inside the movement anymore. And you see it's quite long, still some bit of power. We see the balance still running, and that's it. Now you see coming to a stop, and that's it. There is no more power in a watch. So when there is no power, we can start disassembling the watch, because we don't run the risk of damaging parts. Obviously, if there is tension and power in between all these wheels. Getting the balance out of the way as soon as possible, because this is a very fragile part, and you don't want to damage this very thin hairspring there. And you see a lot of decoration on this movement with a lot of perlage, which is like this, all this round, which is on the parts, which is as well kind of graining patterns on some other parts. So I love this working on this Rolex, because obviously personally I found like they are nice watches, simple watches but nice, and inside the caliber they are very nice to work on, like very easy, very solid, very nice to look at as well. So that's why I love to work on this Rolex caliber, like this one is 3135, but like chronograph caliber, like GMT caliber, doesn't really matter. Newer, older, this one being quite a new caliber, obviously. But even if you go on vintage calibers, they are very nice as well. It's always a pleasure to work on these Rolex calibers. Just taking the click out of the way now, with the spring underneath. Just taking the ratchet wheel, and you see we have a jewel there. I'm just checking the handshake on the barrel assembly, because obviously with the jewel, like you don't have much wear, so you don't have side shake like you can have if you did like on watch that doesn't have a jewel. But you can still have some issue with handshake, so that's why I check the handshakes on the balance assembly. The mainspring. And so now I can remove the bridge on top. Well, we see this beautiful barrel underneath. Very nice finish on it as well. Kind of a sunburst effect on this barrel. Just gonna remove like a jewel there, which is on one of the wheel, on the escape wheel actually. And to grab the cap jewel there, I'm just going to use a piece of Rodico. And here we go. You see now I just removed the jewel. And we're going to clean them. And obviously after, when we're going to fully disassemble this watch, we're going to put it back together and re-oil. And we're going to re-oil this cap jewel as well. But first, we want to make sure that they're perfectly clean. So that's why I'm taking them out during the disassembly. All the wheels there from the train of wheel. And we still have this small bridge here with a minute wheel underneath. There we go, just removing now the minute wheel, and we are done on the balance, and we're going to move to the dial side now. We're going to take out the keyless work. So first we're going to remove this big plate here with these two screws. And you see again this side of the mechanism is nicely decorated with this big perlage, this big round. You can see there on the left side. Setting lever spring. The yoke spring there that I'm removing very carefully, you see, holding it with my plastic tool there, just to make sure it doesn't fly. Because yeah, they have tendency to fly, this little spring, and they are a pain to find if they fly. Still a few parts removed on the keyless work. With the yoke underneath, you see there, and we still have the winding stem, the clutch, and basically that's it. We are removed all the parts from the main plate. Still have a couple of jewels to remove, and again, because we want all the jewels to be cleaned very nicely, we're gonna remove them from the caliber. There we go. You see that's one side, one jewel for the balance. Just going to unleash a spring on top of it and grab the jewels there. See, we close the spring back. Just make sure it doesn't get damaged during cleaning. Going to do the same thing on this cap jewel there, which is for the other side of the escape wheel. Remember, we just removed the one on the bridge, and now we remove the one which is on the dial side. And same way, we're going to open this. They're quite fiddly spring, like these springs on Rolex, and actually that's one thing I don't like on the Rolex caliber. I prefer like other shock springs than this one. Pegging the jewels, removing any dried up oil or grease. Gonna do that on all the jewels from the watch. Obviously, like I'm just filming a couple of jewels there, but we do it on all the jewels which are on all the different bridges that you can find on the watch. Placing back the balance just to make sure it doesn't get damaged during cleaning. It's a safe place to keep it on the main plate. And again, we're gonna remove these jewels for the balance. First, I need to open this very fiddly spring. Oopla, you saw it just jump. Didn't go very far. And now just closing the spring back. There we go. Bit more pegging there on the jewel. And now I'm just disassembling the automatic winding system. You see like a lot of dried up grease on this big jewel. So we're gonna open the system by removing like the 3 screws. Should be able to lift up now. Voila, here we go, the top plate, top bridge, and we have these wheels underneath, this reversing wheel, very iconic on a Rolex movement, these 2 red wheels. And we still have a wheel underneath there. There we go. Now I'm just going to open and get out the main spring out of the barrel assembly. You can see there, gonna remove the barrel arbor, which is sitting in the middle of the mainspring. There we go, it's coming, perfect. And I'm just taking out of the mainspring out of the barrel. Gonna clean all of this, obviously. Remove any dried up oil or grease. Just do a quick polish here on a pivot from the different wheel on a train of wheel. And all the parts will go in this little basket, starting by the jewels. To make sure, they don't fly away in a cleaning machine. We put them in these baskets with like a very thin mesh on the baskets. And there we go. Now we're going to put all the other parts. You see, that's a lot of parts on an automatic watch, obviously, more than just a simple manual watch. And all these parts will go inside the cleaning machine. So the cleaning will be done in a few stages. First, we do through a cleaning solution, and after we'll go through 2 rinsing solution, and it will finish by a drying, where we dry all the parts after cleaning. And I would like to use the opportunity to tell you that I have a Patreon page. So if you want to support the channel, you can find the link of my Patreon page down in the description. So I would like to thank Thomas, Philippe, Roger, Matt, Christian, David, Shelby, Jan, Rune, Christian, Cornet, Alan, David, Tony, Steven, John, Tim, and Gregory. Thank you so much, guys, for supporting me. And if you want to join a group, like I said, you will find the description down below of my Patreon page, the link. And you can go there and subscribe to one of the plans that will help me a lot to support the channel and my work. And as well, if you did not subscribe to the channel, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel. Click on a thumbs up if you like the video, and click on the bell icon. You will get a reminder every time I put a video. I try to put a video once a week. And again, if you like the video, click on a thumbs up. It will help to promote to other watch lovers like yourself. And we get more view and more video out of it. So thanks in advance. So before we starting putting the parts and the watch back together, we're going to do first epilam treatment on some of the parts. So the epilam will help the parts, the oil to be retained on the parts a bit better. It's like a surface treatment if you want. Just going to remove now the epilam from the pivot point of the escape and the pallet fork. And after this, we're going to focus on oiling the jewels. So we have the jewel for the balance, but as well we saw on this watch, we have jewels for the escape wheel. So that's what I'm going to do right now, starting with the balance. I'm going to put a drop of 9010 oil, which is a very thin oil, straight in the middle of the cap jewel there. And we're going to just put the chaton back on top of the cap jewel there. That's it, perfect. And the watch, that's done for one. And we have now the second one. We do exactly the same thing. Perfect. Okay, so we're gonna place back the jewels now on a balance, now that they are fully clean and fully oiled. So we can place them back on a balance assembly. Just reopen the spring and put the jewel with the drop of oil right in the middle. And we'll close the spring back on top. It always something very tricky to do with the spring because they can jump out of place very easily. So I'm very careful. You see, I don't put too much pressure. And as well, it's always more difficult to do it under a camera when you make a movie out of it. So yeah, it's always trickier. Just do the same thing on the other side. Just place the jewel and close the spring here. You see, I'm extra careful. I don't want to, if I see on one side it's not clicking in position, I just go to the other side. And now I will do this side where I can put it in the groove just underneath. There we go, perfect. I'm just gonna place back the cap jewel for the escape wheel, but you see I don't oil them like the other one. You will see I will use a different technique on this one. Just put the cap jewel and I will just put the spring back on top. Just checking the balance there with a bit of air to check the hairspring. If it's nice and concentric, fully flat, beating very nicely, you see there. Yeah, that looks good. Nothing to do, nothing to touch on the hairspring. And now I'm just going to use my automatic oiler just to oil the jewel there for the escape wheel. So that's what I'm doing right now. And you see I'm going to play there with automatic oil, a drop of oil right in the center of this jewel. Gonna do the same thing you see on this bridge. We have the other side of the escape wheel. And again, using my automatic oiler, just put a drop of oil. Okay, so now the oiling is done on these jewels. We're gonna focus on a mainspring. I'm gonna rewind the mainspring on this watch. And for this, you see I'm using this device, which is, rewinding. I'm just inside the tool there, rewinding the mainspring. Just going to remove now the lever on top there. And inside, we'll have a fully wind mainspring ready to go back inside the barrel. They are very nice tools to use. And if you get serious, at one point, obviously you can buy brand new mainspring every time. But if you want to reuse mainspring, you will have to buy this set of tools, and actually it's quite expensive tools. You can buy Chinese copy, but if you do it seriously, I don't advise. I would advise you to buy a version set, and they're not cheap tools to buy. There we go. So now I just put the barrel arbor back on top, greasing both sides, obviously, like for the mainspring to be fully lubricated. And we're going to close this assembly, close the lid on top using a small tool. Just place, you see, on this Orotech tool to close the mainspring here. Just going to oil again. You see there with automatic oiler with a medium viscosity oil. Going to oil the barrel arbor inside because obviously it will be a contact metal against metal, so you want to reduce the friction to a minimum. So that's why we're going to oil and grease a lot of points. So on this movement, what I like to do is, and actually that's what's recommended if you follow the instruction from Rolex, the service instruction is to start on keyless work. Again, you see me oiling few points and greasing there the clutch. I'm putting the yoke in position in the middle of the clutch and on the pivot point here. Putting the yoke spring. There we go. You see me oiling like all these kind of tracks that you have on the part. This is for the quick side date mechanism. The setting lever. The part there which is keeping the setting lever in position, which is acting as a spring. And now we have the spring that come and index the different position of the keyless work and the setting lever. Kept in place with a screw. And you see there, I'm just putting the spring in position. There we go. Perfect. Just cleaning the excess grease. Okay, so now we move to the balance side and we're going to put this minute wheel there. Just going to oil the place where we have the pivot point, putting the wheel, oiling the top part as well. We're going to put the bridge with this jewel. Just securing everything with the screw there. Nice and gently. And now we can move back to the other side where we're going to finish to assemble the keyless work. Cannon pinion in position. Yeah, perfect. Minute wheel. And now we'll have a few intermediate wheel. Just oiling the wheel which is attached to this plate there. Here we go, just put it in position again, and we're gonna secure and keep all the wheels underneath in position and make sure everything doesn't move. And that's it, the keyless work is done, and you see like the different position. When I pull on it, we see the setting lever spring doing this job. Yeah, so that's perfect. So next we're going to focus on the train of wheel. We're going to put back the different wheels inside the jewels. Oiling there the center wheel. You see through the center there, like its name. And yeah, there we go, perfect. And now with the bridge, we'll have to align on the top side all the jewels. So what I like to do, I like to put the bridge on top and just do some vibration and tap very gently like the movement holder. And with a bit of vibration, it will make the wheel fall normally like close or like inside the jewels. You see with the vibration, we just move a tiny bit. And you see there, it just dropped. And you see, I'm just gonna try and see, just put a bit of pressure on top of the bridge and make the wheel turn. And yeah, suddenly all the wheel turn, and you see like all the wheel now, if they turn like this, it means that they are inside the jewels. Everything is aligned. And when it does, we can secure everything with the screw. So it was quite quick actually on his movement. And again, that's a huge sign of the quality of the movement. Everything fall into place very easily always on a Rolex movement. It's always very surprising, but after when you do a couple, yeah, you can see that there is something different with the Rolex movement. Like they are so precise. Just put a crown wheel there on under this bridge. That's a hack that I'm putting, and that's the system actually that will come and stop the balance wheel when you pull fully the crown. And you see the hack go under this bridge, so that's why I pull it first. Now I can secure this bridge with like the 2 screws that go with it. And we put a beautiful barrel assembly in position. You see with like the bridge on top of it with the jewels. That's always nice to have a barrel which is kept in place with a jewel. And obviously you see as well on this movement there is a lot of joules more, a bit more than usual. So yeah, again, that's to stand the quality of the Rolex movement. Obviously, if you put a joule, like, yeah, you will have to drill a hole, but after, yeah, you will have to do an extra step, an extra cost as well to put a joule inside your watch. And yeah, a joule is harder than metal, so it will wear less than metal, and it will stay in nice shape if you want for longer. It can break, but it's easy to replace a joule. But yeah, it's much more durable than metal, so that's why on this Rolex movement, yeah, they are very solid. That's one of the reasons as well. Everything is jeweled, like most of the pivot point is a jewel on this watch. And even you will see later on a calendar mechanism, you have jewels everywhere, where you don't have it normally, like on a, let's say, a cheaper movement. So yeah, again, these movements are built to last. Just putting the click in position. Aligning the ratchet wheel, you see on the square shape hole there to drive underneath the barrel arbor. Okay, perfect. And now I'm gonna do is I'm gonna oil all the jewels again, just to make sure everything is nicely lubricated and the friction is reduced to a minimum. So we have a nice running watch. The friction is always your enemy in a watch, because we are on a mechanical movement. So if in a mechanical movement you have a lot of friction, it's like it's a loss. Yeah, it's energy which is wasted. So what you want to do is you want your friction which is reduced to a minimum everywhere inside the mechanism. So that's why we're going to put like a lot of oil and grease between each parts to prevent wear as well on a part, but again, as well to make sure the power is not lost due to the friction. Just placing there the palette fork, you see aligning in the jewel, and that looks good now. Can just secure it with the two screws there, which is holding the bridge in position. Just gonna wind the watch, put some power inside the movement, and see first when I wind the watch if I see or feel nothing wrong, and it looks good. And yeah, we see the palette clicking there, left, right, and that means the power is coming to the palette fork. Just oil the palette fork out of the camera because it's quite tricky to do it under camera. And now it's oiled, we can put the balance and see if the movement wants to start. Always tricky a bit to put the balance wheel on a Rolex movement, which is big bridge on top. Yes, perfect. Just started. This looks like it's running very nicely. So we're gonna put the screws again. And we have this beautiful 31-35 caliber beading. Okay, so now the main part of the caliber means that the timekeeping element of the caliber is working. We can start to focus on a complication. So on this watch, we'll have the calendar complication, which is an extra feature if you want on a watch. So now you see this clever system from Rolex, and you see that's very tricky to do. I'm putting some oil there and holding the spring, with my other hand with a tweezer. And now I need to grab a very tiny jewel with my other hand just to put it on this lever there. I just want to show you how tricky it is to do it. And now that it's in place, I can release. There we go. You see this very strong spring. And that's all the calendar mechanism that allow the date to jump very suddenly on a Rolex close to midnight. And again, they put a jewel there just to make sure the friction and the wear is reduced to a minimum with a jewel. And again, you don't see that on a lot of watches. So that's a testament to the quality of these Rolex calibers. Putting like the hour wheel and some driving wheels for the calendar mechanism. And now we can put this plate back on top, and you see again a lot of jewels on this plate, and actually that's just jewel for we see the date disc as I'm going to put later, just to make sure it runs smoothly without too much friction. And again, that's something that you don't see everywhere. Putting in place the plate with this beautiful blue screw, just to make sure we don't mix them up with other screws. Obviously, that's why they give them a color. Oiling the jewel there, and you see now I'm gonna check if the date is jumping, and you see the wheel, tack, you saw the arm coming and jumping like that. It was very quick and very sudden, and that's what gives a quick set. I mean the quick change of the date at midnight. So I'm placing the date disc again there, locking it in position with this screw. Just oiling like the date jumper here. And you see I'm gonna oil it like every few tips, cleaning the excess grease and putting the beautiful dial back on top. Just gonna align there the dial fit screw. It was not fully open, so I'm just opening the screw there just for the dial to fall in position. Just gonna press there, and that it now is flat on the movement, and I can secure the dial fit screw there to make sure the dial doesn't move. And we're gonna make the date jump. Wow, and you saw it was very sudden, the jump, very quick, very fast, and that's what you want on a Rolex. It means like it's nicely oiled, nicely clean. There is no friction anymore, or not too much friction. And now I'm just gonna jump it again. I just put the hand, but not fully in, so like that. Now I can align it properly to midnight, because obviously you want the jump to arrive as close as possible to midnight. Pressing the hour hand in position, and putting the minute hand. Again, I'm gonna align it to midnight. And what I like to have is, I want to have the dates changing 5 minutes of before or after midnight. That's my range that I like to keep it. So we're gonna try it right now. And you say just jump like 4 minutes before midnight. So that's acceptable to me. And we put the second hand in position. Obviously it doesn't move because we have the hack function, and if I push the crown, and that's it, the movement is starting and the second hand is beating. Another complication on this watch, which is automatic winding that we need to reassemble. So I'm gonna reassemble the full automatic winding mechanism. So first I'm gonna lock, you see, the oscillating weight there with these clips. Putting the reversing wheel. Obviously we're gonna oil everything again as well on this part. And we're gonna put all the parts. Here we go, we have the bridge coming on top there. Secure with the screws. oiling the jewels, and that's it. Basically, the winding system, the automatic winding system, is ready to go back later on a caliber. I'm just gonna change all the seal and O-rings from the watch. So on this one, we'll have 3. So we'll have 1 for the case back, 1 for the crown, and 1 for the tube. So now I'm just gonna put them in moly coat. That will help get it's a grease that's will help to be better water resistant if you want. Now I put the one inside the tube there, and now I just can put back this case back. This case, sorry, and with the caliber inside, just put the seal inside the crown. Need to go all the way down to the bottom of the crown. And now we can put the crown. There we go. And you see, as always with Rolex, it's a screw down crown. So now I need to screw it to be fully in. Movement is nice and secure inside the case. So I can put back the automatic winding mechanism. Just gonna close now the case back again with this custom tool from Orotech. You have the link down below in the description if you want to get this beautiful custom tool from Orotech. It's like nice, very nice piece of decoration, and very useful as well if you are a watch lover and if you want to open some of your watches. I recommend these custom tools. Just gonna demagnetize the watch before we put it on a time grapher. But first I would like to tell you that I have my own website. So you can find a link down below or in a corner at the top right corner right now. You will have some of the watch that I restored on the channel that are for sale. And as well, if you want to send your watch, like for example this Rolex, for service, you can go on my website, you can contact me, and I will be more than happy to service some of your watches. So again, you will have the link down below in the description if you want to go to my website. And here is the result on a time grapher. The rate just around 0 or gaining few seconds, which is perfect. The amplitude went up to 300 and above 300, which is very nice. And the bit error is bang on at 0, so we improve quite a lot because we gain more than 50 degrees of amplitude. And the watch with bit error of 0 and few seconds a day, that's perfect. And here is the finished product. I'm just checking if everything is working, if the date is jumping when the watch is in the case, and you can see there, yeah, nicely jumping. Just gonna check as well as always if the quick set date function is working, and yeah, you can see the date nicely clicking. We see the movement beating. We saw the result on a time grapher. So yeah, very happy with this service on this beautiful Rolex, and you can see there a very nice watch. So I hope you like this service, and I see you next time for my next video. Bye bye.